Mary considered the gravest issues to be those related to the Gospels and when the Gospels were written. So this whole section about diversity of authorship and questions too complex to be entered upon fully here reflect the higher criticism that she then mentions on page 7 and that we talked about coming from a school of German thought. She says on page 7, nowadays it is said in some quarters that the Bible is in peril from higher criticism, and certain good people whose piety is greater than their intelligence echo the assertion and deprecate criticism altogether. The faith of unstable souls is indeed in peril from a criticism that errs in not being high enough. But from criticism of the right kind, the Bible has everything to gain, and if we are wise, we shall read it in the fullest light our own age can throw upon it. Ignorance, not knowledge, is the real foe, and just as the church gains fresh strength in times of persecution, so Holy Writ wins fresh appreciation in times when it is being tried. For when unassailed, it is also in great measure unstudied. Whereas the labors of scholars in various departments have lately, as never before, shown the unity and beauty of its literary structure and the minute accuracy of its historical narratives. And when we cease to read into what it does not say, and clearly ascertain what it does say, we discover again and again that its statements are in harmony with the latest results of scientific research. Specifically, in late 19th century England, there was a decline in faith. Darwin's The Descent of Man was published about 20 years before Clews to Holy Writ was published. So Mary was strengthening the faith of believers and introducing the reasonableness of our faith to those who were doubting in a time of spiritual upheaval. So this middle section of the introduction, which we just covered, is her answer to higher criticism and the doubt of her day, but it is equally applicable to us in our day. In addressing questions that saints and skeptics have echoed throughout the ages, Mary writes on page 8, "These are matters that claim our earnest consideration. For in the near future, I quote Bishop Phillips Brooks, preaching from Matthew chapter 22, verse 37 on the mind's love for God, quote, there will be an ever-increasing demand for thoughtful saints, for men and women earnest, lofty, spiritual, but also full of intelligence, knowing the meaning and the reasons of the things they believe, and not content to worship the God to whom they owe everything with less than their whole nature. By the word we are quickened, that is, made alive. Psalm 119, verse 50. By it we grow. 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 2. And by it we become strong. 1 John chapter 2, 14. And again, I encourage you as you're reading the introduction to look up all the verses that she references. There is no surer sign of bodily sickness than lack of appetite for wholesome food. There's no surer sign of spiritual sickness than lack of appetite for that which is sweeter than honey. Does the Christian life seem unreal? Is the Christian faith beset with difficulties amid the conflict of human opinions and the clatter of controversies and arguments? Is this your bewildered query concerning the Son of God as concerning a being awful, distant, vague? Quote, who is he that I may believe on him? John chapter 9, verse 36. Have ye not read? Understandest thou what thou readest? Take comfort in the knowledge that all may read and all may understand. For all who ask may have the guidance of him through whom the scripture not only was, but is inspired to be the living and life-giving word for every age and every race. Join me next time as we jump into the general plan of chronological scripture study, in which Mary lays out what each term involves, as well as what daily scripture study looks like. Please share with anyone who you think may be interested, and I'm excited to jump into Genesis 1 with those who can join on January the 1st, 2020.